In today's episode, we want to talk about PDF viewing tools that folks are already in today, or even authoring tools. That's maybe a good place to start. I know it's a bit generic. And hopefully that way we can move into where we believe MarkedUp fits in your workflow, and why we think it's a critical kind of link, if you will, between the design process and the construction process. So I'll open this up with the architecture stuff or the authoring platforms. I think the most, and guys, just tell me your experience with these. The most common one has to be AutoCAD, for sure, for 2D line work and stuff like that. Then there's like SolidWorks, which I think is way less common. And then also kind of in early designs, we move into parametric or 3D design, things like SketchUp. I think Autodesk has their own one, which might be called like Form or some shit. And then from there, you kind of have the very popular Revit and the less popular ArchiCAD, as that probably rounds out the most common authoring tools.
I'd say so in Australia, yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah,
I
don't know. It's more than I thought there was.
I know that Bentley has something as well. I don't know what it's called for architecture. I don't know. Oh, Tekla. We can move into kind of similar tools. Tekla for structural steel design. I know that Autodesk is bringing some of that type of very detailed design into Revit. I'm sure that there's some. Well, I found one out here in Paris the other week. It's called like Form, like a new type of CAD, which kind of looks cool. But I think that kind of rounds it out. So effectively, those designs happen there. They just happen in the raw format. People are designing, coming up with beautiful things or just very functional things. And the output of that is either the file, which, like, so CAD, for example, has a DWG file. I have no idea what Revit is. It's like RVT or something like that, or whatever that thing is. ArchiCAD's whatever ArchiCAD's big file extension is. So, but that's not what they deliver to the owner who buys the work effectively, or hires to do a design, and then that work is then passed on to contractors to bid on. That's a PDF, right? That is just a flat file of however many pages it is of the design itself. BA, you're kind of our guy here. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about those tools, and we'll talk about where MarkedUp fits in this process.
Yeah, boy, from you in early days, may have been something as simple as Acrobat, but it was only just as a viewer, right? Until Bluebeam came along, and that became the go-to for, I guess, almost every construction company I've ever worked for. Bluebeam seems to be the standard. I've seen a couple others pop up here and there, but I think I'd say pretty confidently that Bluebeam is the tool to use to view plans.
I think that there was a big mobility movement as well, where I'm pretty sure on this, FieldWire might have been one of the first mobility apps in terms of like viewing your drawings on your phone or your tablet.
Sure.
And then it was PlanGrid that really took off. And then I think that there's so many of those now.
I think you're right. It's pretty saturated.
It's super saturated. There's even like free ones out there you'd have to pay for. I don't even know what they're called. So there's tons of those. All right, let's talk a little bit about why MarkedUp or where MarkedUp goes. Harry, I'll throw this to you because you've been super chatty.
Serious.
So where does MarkedUp fit in the process? Where do you think it fits?
Well, I just think that, in a sea of saturated plan viewing applications, I don't think that MarkedUp is trying to be another one of these viewers. And I think that we can fit beautifully over a viewer. I think, as Brian mentioned before, Bluebeam is here, and that's what I learned to use during my cadetship. And to be honest, a plugin to Bluebeam would be pretty incredible. Having a place where you can already view your plans and check a button to get your issues checked automated. That's where I see MarkedUp fitting in.
Yeah, I don't want to
Maybe.
create another viewer yet, though. I think most people are using Bluebeam, even if they're not. Right? Everybody has kind of viewer that they're using now, and we're not trying to be another one you got to open up to view issues, right? Our goal, I know our goal is to make it as simple as possible, right? And simply uploading it to our website and letting it do its thing while you get a cup of coffee. That's the idea right there, and you can still view the results on Bluebeam or whatever you're using.
Yeah, I think Brian, you had this idea when we first spoke that from the architecture perspective, they're going to produce a set of drawings. Last minute, they're federating the stuff that they're getting from the engineers before they send it out. And I think, I forget, you called it like continuous QC or something like that, like this concept of, look, you just get all the basic stuff off the floor so that when you set stuff out, it like maybe it's a level or a root constructability issue. And I like that from an architecture perspective.
Yeah. I mean, why not? You know, from a workflow perspective, we would love for MarkedUp to be used from the architects starting their design. You know, to me, it almost would be perfect if even once a week they're going to a multi-phase design, just keep running it through. Right. Our goal is to help clean the drawings before it gets to the GC.
Absolutely. And that's probably a nice segue to the GC, because there's the initial touch point where a project goes out to bid. That's an obvious place to check for the basic errors. But then I think that there are them shopping that out to the subs. Subs could use this as a place to check, possibly.
Yeah.
And then GC wins the job. Site team gets a new set of drawings, potentially weekly. I mean, depending on the job. But there's even more opportunity there for folks to just check for the basic things and just clear those off. It's no time. It's time you're going to either do it or not do it. It's kind of like where my head's at. Like a human's going to do it or not do it.
Yeah, and some of these drawings having 5, 6, 7 revisions, you know, and any of these could have a call out missing or have a dimension wrong that leads to an on-site problem. So why not check it at every stage of drawing?
Yeah, you just mentioned it, Chris. If a human not doing it, that's the problem right there, because you get so busy out on a job site and you get 7 iterations of drawings. If somebody doesn't check them and they think they've captured everything, all of a sudden you're getting closer to the end, and all of a sudden a big issue pops up because you missed it. So, that's why we want to make it as simple as possible to just keep running our the drawings through our system, right? Make it as easy as possible. Take the human element out, so the time is not a concern. So, just want to hit on that point right there. That's the big one that usually happens.
I just want to double. Sorry, Chris. I just want to say, not to mention that design managers, architects, and contractors are dealing with the big problems that are on these plans at the moment. You know, the time that they've spent educating themselves to solve. They don't need to sit there and check for the call outs or check the schedule completeness. Like, this is a job that's below us now, and yes, we should know how to do it. But if AI can take this away, we can focus on big issues.
Yes, great point.
Yeah, I was nearly going to ask, like, why won't people do this? I think it's just too time consuming, and it's not that they want to; it's that there's bigger fish to fry.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyways, I actually quite like this podcast. I was like, oh, it's going to be a fat one. It actually turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, it was good.
All right, guys, I really appreciated that. Wraps us up for another edition of the Blueprint Academy podcast. Got the folks here in the background that are pumped up too. Harry, Brian, I'll see you next week. Thanks, gents.
Thanks, guys, for listening.